So thank you for joining us today for another exclusive interview sponsored by Imovit. Help your horses reach their maximum potential with Imovit's line of natural homeopathic products. I'm your host today, Aurelian Dramia. Today we are honored to have Willie Mullins, the legendary trainer, with us. We'll dive into his recent win with Belloccio at Royal Ascot, the transition from flat racing to hurdles, and the key factors behind Belloccio's success. We'll also discuss upcoming goals, potential targets, and how Willie balances training for prestigious events. Stay tuned for insight from one of the most accomplished trainers in the world of horse racing. First of all, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the key moments of the race, from your side?
Well, he got a nice break. I was wondering, was it, was he a little far back? But I think my jockey looked happy. He settled well during the race. The ground was quite firm. So, but I was happy. And then I thought, with about 7 furlongs to run, I was a little worried, but my pilot wasn't, and his body language told me that he wasn't worried. And then when he gave him a squeeze just before the straight, he said he just jumped right into the bridle, and he was very happy, turned for home, just came out a little way to make his challenge, and the horse let himself down on the ground, which I was very pleased with, and went on and won his race. So we couldn't be more happier buying a horse at that sort of money to win in Royal Ascot. That's really lucky stuff. Lucky for the owners and lucky for me.
That's excellent. Coming off a Punchestown win, did you expect him to contend at Royal Ascot, actually?
Yes. We had worked him at home. I felt that his homework was equal to what the figures that he was posting last year on the flat. And we bought him as a dual purpose horse. So we decided, because we're into our new jumping season, we decided to let him take in a jump race, and we would get an idea of what sort of ability he would show us on the racetrack. If we went for a flat race, we were going to maybe advertise his good form to the flat handicapper. So it was always good to go over jumps. He was very impressive winning over jumps first time, considering that he had never run in a hurdle race before. And that told us this horse was as good as he had been showing us at home. And we just put his jumping career on hold until we had a crack at Ascot. And it worked out. It doesn't always work out, but in this case it did.
Perfect. So, well, since you mentioned the flat, how has the transition, from flat racing to hurdles impacted Belloccio's performance here?
I think very well, because in flat races we find a lot of the horses are too keen, especially if we want to bring them out in trip. And when you let them have a run or two over hurdles, they don't come out. They don't come out of the gate as quick, because they think, well, I'm going to meet a jump shortly, and they settle. And they settle, and I think that's what happened to him. He settled nicely, and so we're very happy that that part of the training worked.
Very good. And what factors contributed to Belloccio's success at Punchestown and Royal Ascot?
Well, I think a nice break from last season's flat season. And I often wonder, do horses get enough of a break? And we're very conscious of giving our horses a nice break when they change yards, change countries. They need time to acclimatize. They need to learn how to jump. They need to really to get all that really intense flat training out of their system and get them to relax more. And he did all that. And to see him jumping in his first race, that showed that he had relaxed. He went to the front and jumped lovely from hurdle to hurdle. Punchestown is a big open track, so sometimes novice horses tend to run around. This fellow didn't. He He was keen at his job, going down jumping, and I think that helped maybe improve him a little bit on the flat.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit more about Belloccio's future. Like, what are his upcoming goals and target races?
Well, the obvious target to me after winning was, could we try and make a Melbourne Cup horse out of him?
Wow.
Or maybe an Ebor, try and win the Ebor in York. They're the flat targets. Otherwise, his main target for me over jumps would be to try and win the Supreme Novice Hurdle in Cheltenham next March. And, you know, that is the biggest event he could win as a novice over jumps. And we have mixed that successfully with other horses in previous years. You know, I don't like to race them too much. What we try and do is pick nice big targets and aim for them.
Okay, fair.
And if they're good enough, we can keep going with those targets. If not, we have to drop them back in class.
That sounds very fair. Excellent. As a horse with a flat career, how different or maybe difficult is it, to balance training for jumps, especially for these prestigious events, that he's been entered into?
We don't find it difficult because these horses have 2 years experience flat racing. And so they know all about racing. We don't have to get them ready for that. All we've got to teach them to do is jump. And most horses have a good bit of ability to jump. You get very few that cannot jump. Belloccio showed plenty of promise in that area from the first time we started jumping him. So really, all we had to do then was to try and condition him to go in the different pace that we go in jump races.
Okay. And could he be a contender? You mentioned a few potential races, but for the prestigious Ascot Gold Cup in the future?
Well, it's always a bonus to have a horse that has course form. So I think he could, but that is a long shot. I mean, at his age, it's he's probably getting a bit old for that. But yeah, certainly he could. He wouldn't be out of place having an entry in it. And if you're running in the Ascot Gold Cup, maybe a first four finish would be more realistic objective than trying to win it.
I see. With wins like the Grand National and Cheltenham Gold Cup, how does this Ascot victory rank for you?
It's huge. I mean, for a primarily jump trainer like me, to have a winner in Royal Ascot, when you consider probably only 4 Irish trainers had a winner in Royal Ascot this year, 5, possibly 5, I think that is huge. We've very few bullets to fire at Royal Ascot, and I think we had 4 runners this year. 3 of them got prize money, 1 disappointed. And to be at the biggest meeting, one of the biggest meetings in Europe, this probably in the world as well, it's tremendous.
With a large and talented jumps team, I think your team is pretty significant. How do you manage to identify and develop horses for specific races like the Copper Horse Handicap?
We buy dual purpose horses. We buy flat horses at the end of the flat season, and then we teach them how to jump. If they show enough, if they show enough to me jumping, I think, okay, let's go jumping first. And then we can always come back and use his handicap mark. And that's a system that we use and has worked well. But I do not like running them on the flat before I jump them. I always prefer to jump them and then come back to the flat. It seems to sit better with me.
That's a very interesting, I guess, concept or system.
It's just a system we use and has served us well.
Okay, great. That sounds very good. And what advice would you give to aspiring trainers, who want to emulate your success in the jumps racing world?
Well, I think like everything, it's hard work.
Sure.
You've got to get on with people. I think the biggest thing is to learn how to use your gallops to your advantage. Um, I see a lot of trainers try to have the best gallops that money can buy, but not everyone can afford that. So you've got to try and get a system that suits your gallop, that suits your system. Even though your gallop, you've got to really learn how your gallop works. And I think that's so important. You've got to try and get good stock, but that's only success will bring you that. But I think you've got to know your gallop inside out, how to prepare a horse on it, and then it doesn't really matter that it's not the state of the art gallop that you have, but um, it's got to suit your method of training, and not worry about the rest. Just do your best on your facilities.
Interesting. So mostly follow your own system, and especially if this works, I guess.
That's it. You've got to find the system that works for you, and then just keep improving that system. And that's what I find is the best. I've seen trainers move into new training facilities with what people call state-of-the-art gallops, and not being able to work it. So you just work what works for you, no matter where you are. Some people like hill gallops, some people like flat gallops, some people like round gallops, other people like straight gallops. And horses are very adaptable. You've got to learn what your horse is like. And I'm looking at my own gallop, and we keep it in a certain way. And when I built my gallop first, I thought I was going to work right up to the top end of it, and I find it actually works better. Maybe not working the whole way to the top. It was taking too much out of the horses. So trial and error, you learn, you live, you learn. I hope you learn fast.
Well, that's true. Looking ahead, are there any specific challenges or goals you hope to achieve, in the next few seasons?
Well, we'd like to try and win that Melbourne Cup. We've been second and a third and a fourth, and I think we'll bring down Vauban this year again. I think an absurd. Maybe Belloccio will get an entry. And then what I like is the amount of good prize money that's available in the Middle East, and all those new mile-and-a-half, mile and 6, 2-mile races that are available with big prize money. And we won, I think, with True Self out in Saudi a few years ago, and maybe that's another area that we should be concentrating on, aiming for big prizes for nice stairs.
Excellent. So you're even looking quite like internationally. It's also very important for you, right?
Yeah, I think it's good to travel. You learn a lot more. You'll meet a lot more people, but you've got to follow prize money as well. And there's a lot of prize money this part of the world. Ireland, England can be quite low. It's very hard to win in Ireland with the standard that's over here. England, a lot of racing, but a lot of the prize money is low, and we wouldn't travel over there for it. But so we're always looking at opportunities where there's nice prize money, and try and take advantage of that.
That makes more sense. How would you see the world of horse racing in the future, especially, with the new and younger generation?
I think it's going to be difficult, especially with the sort of anti-horse racing that we have that's in England. There's not so much in Ireland or France. And certainly the rest of the world, very little of it too, maybe some in Australia. But horse racing is, it's a good sport. It's a great social outlet. And I think racing doesn't sell itself enough on the social aspect of it for people coming racing. You know, and I think we need to concentrate more on the social aspect of it, how much fun it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, that you can go somewhere for 3 or 4 hours, walk around the whole place, meet people, have a drink with them, have a cup of tea with them. Not like a football match where you have to sit in your seat for
That's true.
an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then, you know, to me, racing needs to sell itself on the social aspect of it.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for the call today. I hope you enjoyed the interview, Willie.
Thank you. Yes. Sorry, we're just at our big Derby sales here, where it's it is what the yearling sales is to jump racing. So all the unbroken 3-year-olds are here at Tattersalls in Fairyhouse, and these are probably the biggest 2 days of the whole year for young jumping stock. So
Can imagine.
we've bought 1 or 2 already, and buy a few more later on maybe.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have a very nice rest of your day and stay warm. It looks pretty cold.
No, believe me, this is warm for us.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, it is. Yeah, it is 22 degrees. I think it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit cloudy, but it's quite warm. Yeah.
Just cloudy.
You must remember the boiling.
Very
You must
dramatic.
remember. You must remember the boiling point of an Irishman is about 22.1 degrees.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you, Arkan. Bye-bye.